All right. Good morning, guys. Millis here, just getting up. So I had called in again this morning, just because I've had like the flu, right? The stomach flu symptoms. So as I've called into work, I have tried to work on other things that I can do. um, so when I had called into work today, they're like, well, it's been 3 days now, so you might have to get a doctor's note. We have a lot of work policies that just don't make sense, right? I mean, my body's sick. I'm not going to go to the doctors, when I'm not feeling good. I'm just going to get my rest. And when I'm feeling better, possibly tomorrow, I'd like to get back over to work. Then I'm not going to go get a doctor's note, right? Because it takes a while to get into the doctor's. And I don't even really have like a primary doctor. I am going to be seen in 2 weeks for a mammogram, but I'm in charge of my own health, right? I don't have a company that is in charge of my health. So a lot of companies do not have good policies with work life balance. They just don't. So, anyways, what I want to talk about right now is writing, which I will do some writing today. I want to talk about the process. Yesterday at the business meeting, and yeah, I went to a business meeting even though I called in sick because I'm just sitting there listening, right? When I'm at work, I have to be able to be capable of non-stop, activity, very hard physical work. So two different things. So when I went to the business meeting yesterday, we had two great presenters. We had one lady talking about her joy in her life, what she chose to do. So she was like this amazing swimmer, and she almost went to the Olympics, and she had chosen instead to have like a normal life. And she talks about the regret with that she always would go home after she was a nurse. Society was, applauding her for being a nurse. And she would go home and cry because she had great regret about not being in the Olympics. Um, this was when she was younger. So she had ended up, ditching the nursing job and following her dreams to something even better. So she had done some work, swimming and doing stuff in the circus, and then eventually led to her joy in painting, which she loves to do. So she talked about follow your passion, which I think was a great message. Um, don't don't be afraid to go out there and live. Don't live with regret. She was talking about an amazing speaker. She talked about her space when she paints and how it brings her joy. And I think the writing process is the same way because you can see things that you can't see unless you're writing it. So yesterday when I was writing, I was thinking about, the whole entire relationship. Bless me, with my mom, the whole entire thing. I was thinking about how, her mom, your daughter is supposed to be your best friend, right? I was watching Lakin Riley's trial, and her mom was crying because her daughter was killed and her daughter was her best friend. That is the ideal relationship, right? And not only did I lose that opportunity to have that with my child, but my mom, because of her upbringing with her mother, a lot was taken. So a lot was taken from my mother, and a lot was taken from me with my childhood. And so when you have that lack of intimacy, which you can clearly see through the pattern of my writing, the lack of intimacy with my mom, because my mom just was not ready. She said once she was too young. She was not ready to be a mother. She had a lot going on in her life with my grandmother, and that does really happen in life. Okay, there are moms who just are not ready. So I am thankful that my mom had me, and I am thankful that I was a part of my mom's life, and she was only able to overcome some of it the last time I had talked to her. There was a lot with my grandmother. My grandmother had her issues, and it's just generational, right? So, my whole point in writing this book is I want to help a lot of women be able to get through what we call abortion. And I don't even know why we call it abortion. The word sounds sterile, it sounds polite, it's not even like a real thing, right? the truth is it's actually killing your child. That's what's actually going on. We shouldn't even be using the word abortion. And when Melania is like, yeah, I believe in basically killing your children, she's wrong, and she has, she's on the wrong side there. And it's no different than like where we saw Lake and Riley killed. It's no different in abortion, except obviously they've had more time with Lake and Riley. I never met my child. I never had that opportunity to love on my child. So, at the heart it's the same. It's murder, right? So we condemn this guy in court, but we're not condemning the action of abortion. So it happens, and the reason why I'm dedicating my book to my mom and my grandmother is because there are good people out there who have things come their way. Abortion's never something I don't think anyone plans, and because of the lies of society, we believe this is okay, right? So I still love my mom. I loved my grandmother, but there was a lot of things that just were not right, including my grandmother, sleeping with a bunch of men, the poverty that my mother had to overcome, the orphanage that she had to overcome. There is a lot that plays into abortion. And I think most people can understand there's hardships in life. There are things in life that happen that you cannot control. And my book is to help women have victory over this, to rewrite the narrative that it's not just an abortion. It's no, your child was killed, your parents were involved in it. Maybe they meant well in their own way, but usually our society has filled people with lies where a girl out of having sex out of wedlock like I did because it was normalized is usually something that the generation before was like, no, this is not okay. And so that fear of shame that would have been put on me was probably a lot of my father's motive too. He didn't want me going through that. His sister had sex outside of marriage, Mary, and she was shamed quite a bit in society. So back in the day, we shamed women a lot for having sex outside of marriage. I don't think the men were shamed, which doesn't seem to make sense. I think a lot of the feminist movement has come from this um, feeling of women not wanting to be shamed and wanting equal rights with men rather than men taking responsibility for sex outside of marriage too. So, my book just being called The Untold Story of Rachel, Rachel instead of abortion. Um, to me, I'm naming my abortion as a person. I picked a girl's name because my mom was always like, if you ever have a girl, name her Rachel, right? So my mom really was someone who, kind of, I don't know what the name Rachel meant to her, but that was something that she wanted to be involved in. And, she did have her chance when I was pregnant. And so I'm talking not just about the abortion, I'm talking about a lot of things that my mother and my grandmother also went through as women in that day and age. I mean, my grandmother back in her day, a lot of women didn't even work. So, for her to have 10 kids without the ability to work, um, I don't understand, with that level of poverty, how difficult that must have been for her to have 10 kids. Even if she wanted to work, and some women did work, obviously, I don't know how she would have done it with 10 kids. And so, um, she chose to go through having 10 kids rather than to abort, as far as I know. So I don't know where this word abortion and abortion started, but in my grandmother's day, there wasn't birth control and women had their children. They didn't abort them. So when my grandmother did find out about the abortion, she was just totally like, oh my gosh, in shock about it. So, but on the other hand, we also have a lot of things in life that devalue children. My grandmother did not have a very high view of children, and same with my dad and my mom. So we want a very high view of children. And as I posted in my community, Lila Rose talked about, when she's in the store, people are like, oh my goodness, are you having any more kids? You already have three. I used to get that too. It was, Oh my goodness, you have three. That's a big family right now. You don't need more. And so, if we truly, as a society, had a bigger view, a higher view of children, I think we would want as many as we can have, honestly. And if the economics were different in society, I think we could afford to have bigger families. I think we need to try to find ways to have bigger families because big families are usually a blessing. There are a lot of big families, like my father in law came from a big family, wasn't a blessing. And it's not that it's the amount of children, it's how you raise your family, it's how you think about kids. Because there are big families that are very healthy and enjoy having a huge amount of kids and they're not a pain, right? They're not brats. They're not, there's good relationships in those. So it's not how many kids you have. It's not even how much money you have. It's how you do it, how you form those relationships. And that's kind of what I want to talk about too in my book. Um, how to how to go from thinking kids are a pain, a brat, have an abortion, to no, they are a blessing. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.